I was looking out the window and it's foggy and the sun is rising over this wheat field and it's just so pretty. The only thing that would make this prettier is if they would move that irrigation thing. But gosh, it's so beautiful. I'm interested to see what happens whenever they harvest or knock down this wheat. It just goes on forever. I read in a book about corn that if you drive a stake into the ground and mark where it is, and then go off somewhere and let it rain on it, and then come back the next day, that you'll be surprised, and I am. The corn is doubling in size every day. So, and the peas are taking off too, and beans. So, I'm so excited with how fast this is taking off. I needed to hurry because I got started so late because we moved so late. These nesting boxes are coming together quite nicely. All I have to do now is the bottoms, then I'll have to sand up the edges a little bit before I paint them with exterior paint to kind of protect them from the chicken poop. But it's 48 inches by 47 inches, 3/4 of an inch plywood, and I honestly just eyeballed the initial shape and cut it out and then traced it over and over and over and over so that they were all the same. And then I cut just inside the line so that they were, because when you trace you get on the outside, and so if you keep cutting that, all the other pieces will be bigger. So I cut just inside the line so they should be the same size. And then with my scraps, which were about this wide, I just kind of held them together to see, would this be big enough for a chicken to hop into and turn around? And then I drew a line and cut it out and traced all these, so I have the back pieces. And then I had 2 left over, and so I cut them in 3 pieces with 2 more cuts. And I ended up with, these are my scraps, and there's not very many. I've got about 5 of these squares. Now, I can't use them anywhere on the coop, or the nesting boxes, but I thought about cleaning them up a bit and using them to decorate my greenhouse, or excuse me, chicken house before I paint it. But that's my idea. I don't know, but they turned out really good. I've got 12. So now I just have to go get my last sheet of wood, which probably won't be enough to do all these, and do the little floors, then attach them all together. This is what my nesting boxes used to look like. So my plan is that I'm just going to line this up with the edges here, and then just trace along the outside so that I can staple from underneath to make the bottoms of the boxes. Now this will be to help attach it to the wall so that they don't topple forward if there's a bunch of chickens in there, because they'll all be attached probably here in the back with another runner. But I probably won't have enough. I needed another board, but I wasn't sure how many I would need. But I should be able to get most of the bottoms of these done. I traced it and I cut it out and I held it to the bottoms of several of my other nesting boxes, so this size is going to work out great. So I'm just going to run it along here and trace it and cut just inside the line over and over and over for the whole board. I'm excited because I am going to have enough wood to do all of my nesting boxes. I don't have to go back to the store. I only got 3 of these, and I'm going to finish 12 nesting boxes. So this was just under $30 for all of these, and if I would have bought those pre-made at the store, it would have been $120. So score for me. I saved so much money making them myself. I finished one so we can see what it looks like before I put them all together. It looks pretty good, it's pretty sturdy. Staples and wood glue and a little elbow grease. Yeah! All those leftover boards from cutting up all the lumber with all the rotted edges, they came in really handy turning my little sawhorses into a workbench. I might hang on to these because I can just pick them up, throw them away if I don't need them for the minute, move these around, and then put them back together and put it back on there. Scraps are our friends. So what I'm doing is I'm just applying wood glue on the 3 sides because there's only 3 sides that it's going to be touching. And then I line up the glue on one side. I don't worry about the sides here because I can straighten them later. I make sure that it's nice and flush, and then I staple it a couple of times to hold it where I want it. Once I've got that, I can line up the rest of these. I usually try to do corners first. And then it's smooth sailing, just running along the edge. Now I've got a nesting box, and I have to say I'm pretty proud of it. I don't have any woodworking experience, so I'd say doing this for the first time is turning out okay. And all I did was look at a design in a store and try to recreate it from memory, and I think I got it. Well, that's what it's going to look like. I'm super excited. My scraps left over from cutting out the floors is going to be just enough wood to attach those rows together. I'm going to run it up the back, I think. But this wood is so lightweight that I'll be able to pick that entire thing up whenever it comes time to cleaning this out. So, score! It's so beautiful and mostly uniform. Did I mention I didn't use a tape measure? I just eyeballed my first thing and went from there. And I've got 12 identical nesting boxes and virtually no scraps. Turn 12 nesting boxes into 2 nesting units with 6 compartments each. And they're lightweight enough that you can lift them with one hand. I've stapled the crap out of them to hold them together, so I think they're gonna do well. Yay! My nesting units were kind of squeaky and creaky still, so I used some of the scraps to add side supports, and it kind of made it a little more attractive. So now my scraps have been limited to these 4 pieces, which I'm going to use once I clean them up to decorate the greenhouse, or gosh, I call it a greenhouse every time. Chicken coop. I'm ready to get my greenhouse set up, I think. As luck would have it, as I was talking about supporting my nesting boxes, the mail lady came up with my chick feeders. So now we just have to wait on the waterers and the chicks. And Ricky said that they're supposed to be here on the 21st or the 22nd. I wonder if this will be enough feeders. Who knows, you can use them for everything. Now that that's all done, it's time to clean up my mess so I can build roosts. And once that's done, then I can finally paint this thing white. But gosh, I've made a mess over the last few days. While I was cleaning up my mess, one of my neighbors stopped by, and his name is Roger, and he stopped to ask me if I wanted to have some of my land brush hogged, because I still haven't got around to cutting it down with my scythe for hay. And but he said that there's places around here that sell it for super cheap, and it would almost be better to do that. But I like free better than I like cheap, so I don't know what I'll do. But even though he only stopped to teach me about brush hogging, he ended up teaching me a lot. And it was so much appreciated because I'm getting all my trash cleaned up. I've been reading articles and watching videos and whatever for just over a year before I started the actual homestead. And he taught me things from 40 years of experience that you can't learn in a book or on a video. And he told me that I'm spending entirely too much money on these chickens, and he taught me a bunch of easier, cheaper ways, like I was going to get kiddie pools to keep them in with the heat lamp, and he said, no, use cardboard boxes, and because the kiddie pool, they have a chance of moving their bedding around and getting that squat leg where their legs go two different ways. He just taught me so much. He pointed at some of the trees on my property and told me not to feed that to the goats if it gets knocked over, blah blah blah, and but if they forage around it, it's fine because it'll kill them. I don't know, he said cherry would kill them. But he was such a help to me, and I have just felt God's presence with me here ever since I got here. Everything I touch just flourishes. The friendly people come by, and they just... Each person, I've had 2 visitors to the house, and both times they've taught me so much, just in 45 minutes that they stopped to talk. And it's just really, every day that I stay here, I'm even happier that I'm here. I want to give a shout out to my best friend in the whole wide world who lives in Oklahoma still, all the way from Tennessee. I wanted to show you my rain gauge that you got me as a going away present. Last night it rained 1/4 inch. So that has come in really handy. I couldn't find any nails or screws to get this on here correctly, so I just put one in so I could just tilt it and start over. And it's still morning time. I got my nesting boxes finished, but it's raining again on top of my head. But Roger said my garden should do great. So I believe him. He's been here his whole life. I'm not used to this state or what happens here. Ordinarily right now I'd probably get pretty hot temperatures, but it's been staying in the 70s and 80s. But man, the humidity makes it feel a lot hotter. Got some more, there's some what, carrots sprouting? Need to get those planted. It's doing pretty good. As they get established in their little pots, I've been moving them into the raised beds, and from there they're just taking off, doing really well. So, and the rain is not hurting a thing. Well, I'm inside the chicken coop, rain testing it, seeing how waterproof it is. It's raining, you can hear it. I'm staying dry, so the chickens will too. Man, I really need to get those roosts done. Well, it's sunny again, so I've been working, and last minute I decided to add this window with real glass to the chicken coop with bird netting behind it. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea, but whatever. Ricky found this thermometer on clearance and bought it so that we can put it in the chicken coop, and I thought, what a cute idea. And it's on this swivel thing, so I can push it in or whatever. So I'm going to put it in the chicken coop. That's awesome. Now I can just peek in here and tell if the chickens are hot or cold. That'll be handy, I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to do to cool them off. So while I was at Home Depot probably a week ago, I saw this little beauty and I thought, oh, I could use that one day. Wasn't exactly sure for what, but I used it today to make a 40-degree angle, and it's pretty neat. All I do is set it on there, butt this edge piece up against the board, find 40 degrees, make a line, and it makes this cut. So it makes it a lot easier to make a right angle, and all I've got to do is attach those together and I've got a good square. Yay! Learning about these tools is so much fun.